Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Hey everybody, welcome to a special episode of the Cookbook. I'm Iris Goldfeder, your host, and today we're going to be focusing on mental health. This is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and it's also Recovery Awareness Month. And I know that my last guest was Brandy Christensen, but we were talking, and in light of what this month stands for, I thought that it would be a good idea to bring Brandy back on to talk more about mental health and, you know, all of the issues that are surrounding suicide prevention awareness and recovery awareness. So without further ado, let's bring Brandy on.
Hi, Iris.
Long time no see.
Right.
So this is, it's interesting because it being Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and Recovery Awareness Month tied together, I thought that it would be really important to bring you back to kind of talk more about it. I know we talked about it a little in our previous conversation, which, you know, will still be out there, probably with a couple of bleeps in there because I got a little carried away. But I just think that it's really important to talk about mental health. I think that it's been taboo for a really long time. And this being the month, I thought that we should have a conversation and maybe bring some more awareness about it. So let's talk about what Mental Health America, Wabash, Valley region, how are you guys handling this month?
Right. And so, first of all, I just want to say thank you. It means a lot that you're doing this special edition and that, you're listening when I'm talking, and that you're so invested in getting the word out, because it does matter. We're all affected. I know we've had multiple conversations, and we've been affected both personally and through our networks. And obviously that's what's driven me and my passion to do what I do. So September's always been a major month for us here. We run what's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is now 988. And we have done that since, I believe, 2014. Ironically, I actually began my journey in this profession as a volunteer on a crisis line. And I got to give it a shout out, Johnson County, Iowa. And I spent some time there. And I to this day, I get to work with a gentleman named Bo, who now works at the national office, which is Vibrant. And so it's pretty cool. He was the volunteer of the year before I was there. And then I actually had the privilege to have that designation after that. It was a little bit different then. The hotlines have definitely increased in capacity, in volume, in acuity. And so it's important for us. What we've traditionally done as an agency is honored our volunteers who give so much of their time and their talents and their energy to being the voice on the other side of that line, as I once did. And so we really try to capitalize, just like we do in May when it's Mental Health Awareness Month. We try to capitalize on getting the word out there, the opportunities. People really do pay attention to what month it is. And so we have opportunities to provide mental health education, suicide prevention education. We do QPR, which is a gatekeeper evidence-based suicide prevention, kind of 101. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And, people reach out all the time now, thankfully, but it's a busy month for us. So we're honoring our staff and our volunteers that are, doing the hard work, being on the front lines, making sure everyone has someone to pick up and be empathetic and to help guide them to their own answers, and create their own plans and move forward, hopefully, with some additional resources so that they can stay safe for now, is what we call it. But then I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the role that that addiction has played more recently in the past few years for us here at MHA Wabash Valley Region, mainly with our program Let's Talk. And so, a lot of times, most times, very often, individuals who are considering suicide or do take that step to end their life, they have drugs and alcohol in their system.
Well, they use drugs and alcohol to do it, right? So sometimes
the inhibition, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Hand in hand.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I look at mental health. I mean, obviously, there's recreational drug use, and but then there's addiction. And in my younger days, I knew people that were addicted, and it changes them. You go from this really kind, loving person to this, I don't know who you are kind of thing. And it's sad because, you can see the decline. And I mean, back in my day, because, I'm a dinosaur, we didn't have meth, we had heroin and coke, and then, crack started making an appearance. But, now with meth, and I know heroin is coming back. I mean, I'm hearing, a whole bunch of whatever is, out there. People, it's like, it's a solution to a problem, right? I was talking to somebody who, this was back in December, who used to run, I don't want to say an agency, but what are they called? I'm drawing a blank. Like a location, like a
drop-in center?
No, but a center. We'll call it, a center.
Like a recovery center?
A rehab center, kind of,
okay.
Right? And I don't know why my brain just like kind of froze there. But he said that addiction, 90% of the time, is a solution to a problem that they're having, that they're not dealing with. And if you can get to the problem and help them with the problem, then the addiction goes away, rather than trying to help wean them off of the drug necessarily. But I guess there's like a whole bunch of different ways to do it. But I guess my point is that when they're addicted, there's the mental health. And when they have the mental health issues, they become addicted. So you're right, it's hand in hand. Do you guys see an uptick of 988 calls? So I know you just recently became a 988 center, but prior to that, you were also a call center of some sort. So did you see an uptick when you became the 988 center, or?
We saw a slight uptick. The state of Indiana has opted to refrain from marketing 988 until we've created the infrastructure that will be necessary to handle the influx of calls that we believe we'll receive once it's marketed. So states that have just gone ahead and begun marketing without ensuring that their centers are staffed appropriately are really struggling. And so that puts a major burden on the national backup. And then that makes it more likely that someone who reaches out, how it works is if someone reaches out in the one of the 33 counties that we serve and they call 988, and let's say we have 3 operators that are on call. We have on the phones. Let's say we have 1 volunteer and two paid staff, and this is a scenario that's occurred in the past month. And there's 4 calls come in at the same time. That 1 call will go to a backup center, national backup center, and that may be somewhere in Nevada or Alaska, somewhere that isn't as familiar with the resources that are in the area that they're calling from.
Right.
So there's a 30% chance that call won't never be answered because the backups are receiving so many calls. And that's that's the reality that we've been dealing with for the past couple of years, because we've experienced a 300% increase in calls just since I took over in 2019.
Wow.
Just with COVID and the closure of a couple of centers and just, people are struggling. And so they're reaching out, and it's good that they're reaching out. So the state in its wisdom is refraining from actually marketing, but we're allowed to educate. And so we're educating that 988 is essentially a mental health crisis line. It's still the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. We're still engaging with people that need help right now. They need stabilization, and our people are trained to provide that. What 988 means long term is a little bit more in depth and complex, and involves what the response will be for individuals experiencing a mental health crisis or addictions crisis that cannot be stabilized and require what we call an out call. And those are individuals that are in imminent risk for losing their life right now. And we work with them to make them part of the decision to reach out for help. And so the idea is that within the next 5 to 7 years, that instead of law enforcement necessarily, I'm sure sometimes law enforcement will still be necessary, but mobile response teams comprised of what are called peer recovery specialists. So people who have been there, who are in recovery themselves, and who possess state certification. So they've got some education, but they're not clinicians, but they're going to be given the opportunity to help stabilize a person if we cannot within our centers get them stable and get them an appointment to see someone the next day, or at the very latest the day after. So it's really about closing those gaps and creating a safety web, and then enlisting and hopefully really creating a larger market for what are known as crisis stabilization units, so that we actually have somewhere to send people when they are in crises. Because right now they're going to the emergency department or they're going to jail.
Wow.
And that's not going to be helpful. That's going to
jail is not going to be helpful. If anything, I think that would probably push them over the edge, because jail is, jail.
Well, it creates a whole nother complexity of problems, right?
Well, yeah. And see, you put it so eloquently. I'm a layperson, so to me, it's like jail. That's just like another layer of, I feel awful, and now you're putting me in this jail cell. How is that going to make me feel any better? If anything, it's going to, make them feel worse. And I'm thrilled, that you guys have that center, the 988 center, and that it's local, because there are so many people here. We know we'll talk about 6 Alarm peer support. that they're a mental health resource for first responders. Now, a 988 operator in, let's say, I don't know, Nevada isn't going to understand what a Tippecanoe sheriff, is going through, or somebody from their department, or a Tippecanoe County fire department, or Montgomery County, or whatever the counties are. They're not going to understand the locality. So I think you're right. I think the fact that the state is handling it the way that they are, I'm actually impressed, because it gives you guys a little bit of, I'm going to say, respite, so that you're not slammed by thousands of calls. Because I think if it wasn't done the way that they're doing it, and it was just like, okay, 988, we're going to do this, you guys would be flooded, and so too many calls would go to other call centers, and not yours.
Yeah. And I do want to give a huge kudos to the state, because they are handling it well. They funded us, for one thing. They brought a couple of other centers. Yeah, right. Now we're also looking for a continuation of that funding mechanism legislatively. So hopefully some of the things that they're talking about will come to fruition. But they're giving us every chance to succeed. They understand that this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to revolutionize our response. And I have to say, they have core planning committees to ensure that there's equity in access, but also in treatment of callers. We're working with all different types of groups of people to ensure that our messaging is appropriate and that we're being inclusive. But they're looking at linkages and referrals so that we're making sure that we're getting that when we're following up with people, we're giving them every chance to succeed. And there are just 8 core committees. I'm going to ask Iris to put up the email and the website so that people can go and look for answers to frequently asked questions and stuff. But I did want to circle back just for a second, because when we were talking about somebody ending up in jail and feeling worse than they were, it's actually more complex than that. So when we have people that are in mental health crisis and requiring stabilization, regardless of whether it's for depression or anxiety or psychosis, some sort of mood disorder or addiction, when someone is placed in custody, right? If they're employed, they're going to lose their job. They're going to have court hearings that they're going to have to show up for. And if they don't do that, then they're in a whole nother level of issues. There are fines that they're going to have to pay. I mean, it's really a complex addition of problems that really can keep a person down even worse and even longer than they would necessarily need to be. So, we're looking forward to a lot of the things that are coming down. One of our partners, NAMI of West Central Indiana, has received a Catalyst grant to open up a living room model. So, that's going to be an opportunity, a place for people to go rather than the emergency departments. I know people are looking at yes, and Riverbend and all of these places that are like, hey, this is a moment to capitalize on. Let's make sure that we here in our communities, have a place for our people to go so that they don't get stuck in an emergency department. Because especially for adolescents right now, if you have an adolescent that is in crisis, they could sit in an emergency department for days, weeks. Really? Because there's nowhere to send them.
Wow.
So it's a lot. There's a lot going on, but there's a lot of need. And We're just, feeling really honored and privileged to be a part of it.
Well, I mean, I've taken a tour of your, facility and, the campus and stuff, and I've met, a lot of the people that you have on your staff. And I mean, they're all amazing. And they, it's not easy work to deal with mental health in general. And, to have to deal with crises like that on a daily basis. I remember we had a meeting and you had to cancel it because one of the residents was in crisis. And, thank God you're there for that, right? That, the organization is there. So, gosh, and thank you for clearing up the jail thing, because like I said, I'm a layperson. So I just look at it as, somebody who is about to kill themselves or, in this major crisis. And then, they get put in jail, for their own safety. I didn't even think of the other implications, like losing your job and, XYZ. So, yeah.
Well, let me throw another layer at you. Imagine that it's happening in their home, and imagine that an officer is arresting a mother or a father in front of the child. And now you have vicarious trauma that's going to carry over intergenerationally. Now you have who's going to take care of child care, who's going to get the child to school or not. Who's going to fill in all of those gaps. And now we've created a whole another level of issues for the whole family, right?
Right.
Whereas we can go in, a peer recovery specialist can talk to someone in their own language. They're going to be empathetic. They're going to be trained. They're going to be able to give them a follow-up appointment the next day and just wrap those services around them, keep the family intact. And, it's really a more humane way to deal with an illness.
Right. And this is why I wanted to do this and give you this platform, again, because I think it's so important, and it's so, I want to say underserved, because so many people don't want to talk about it. There are so many people that suffer from mental health issues that won't talk about it. They won't get help. They, and, to be able to say, and this is going to be so freaking, cliche, but it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to ask for help, before it gets to that point that, they are addicted, or they are, at that last thread to where, they're contemplating suicide. And I think that, especially in Tippecanoe County, we have like so many different agencies, and, we have, a homeless agency, and we have, you guys and NAMI, and there's like a bunch of.
Got to give the YWCA a shout out.
Oh, got to give. Yes, absolutely. You're
right, though. There are so many, and that's
yeah. And the YWCA, to me, the domestic violence program, is near and dear to my heart. And I'm just going to give an homage to Marcia Gentry, who, we started unmasking domestic violence, and because of her story. And, she was a really dear friend of mine, and she passed last week, the week before. Actually, I think it was a week ago yesterday.
Yeah.
So the domestic violence program was always very near and dear to my heart. How do we help that? And I know that, the new CEO there is,
she's okay.
We'll give Lindsay a shout out. She
I have to, because I felt so awful when I was talking about my support system on the last podcast. And I didn't even say anything about her. And she's cool. She's cool as a cucumber, no doubt. But honestly, the last 3 years, there's no way that Brandy Christensen's sitting right here today without the support of Lindsay Meckler. So I just want to get that out right away.
Yeah.
But more importantly, why our program is so successful, our navigator program is so successful, is because our case managers, our navigators, they find the resources. They meet with the people who are serving our community.
Now, explain what a navigator is, because people listening probably
Yeah.
don't know, right? So
Yeah, so really cool story. Right before I got here, the United Way, well, actually about 2016, I think, Mental Health America and NAMI got together and asked the United Way to facilitate a community conversation called the Mental Health Forum.
And also, what is NAMI? Because, we're assuming
National Alliance on Mental Illness. So Sherry Moore's the director over there, but neither one of us were involved. This was right before our time. And the issue was that there were so many people that were trying to get in to see a clinician for therapy, and they were being told, we're not accepting anyone at this time. And so it got to the point where they convened this meeting, and the United Way presided over it, Michael Budd, and created this mental health care forum. And the Navigator program actually came out of that. Navigators are short-term case managers that are there, and I got to give a shout out to the funders, the NCHS, United Way, and the Community Foundation Greater Lafayette said, hey, let's get together, let's fund this program, let's remove some of these barriers that people are having. And so that's what we did. And it's obviously morphed throughout the years. COVID gave us the platform to be able to use, people can use it just over the telephone, or they can come in and meet in person, and they sit down with them. They assess, do you have insurance? If not, let's get you connected to insurance. We use our partners for that. We don't duplicate anything, right? But we connect people. We remove their barriers. We find out, what are they looking to accomplish? What do they need help with? What kind of insurance do they have? And our navigators just take that on. I tell them they're like case managers meet telemarketers they're like wearing capes. They do this. It's a hard job. And until I kind of changed what I understood the program to be, I had a hard time getting employees to fulfill that mission, because it is so hard. You hear about, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 no's before you get a yes for people. But can you imagine if you had to do that by yourself? You might give up after 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10. Yeah. And so the navigators do that, and then they follow up and they make sure everything's going good, and you don't actually get released from the program until you've successfully been in treatment for 30 days and you're happy and satisfied and you've met all your needs. But after a while, especially during COVID, we're like, well, shoot, how are you going to get help if you don't know where you're going to sleep tonight, or you don't know if your kids are going to be able to eat, or you don't have childcare, or you don't have a job, and the list goes on and on. And so, we connect everything from legal services to utility assistance. And these are our partners. And so we meet with someone every week, and the team did this. I can't take any credit. They did this all on their own, and they started having these meetings, and we bring people in and we exchange information. What do you do? What do you do? We create referral systems. And, when they did a follow-up white paper on the efficacy of the program, what they found was that there was just a ton of evidence that the Navigator program actually connects internally the people that are providing the support. So in other words, it was reciprocal. So if a therapist was getting inundated with requests and they were having to turn people away, they could refer them to the Navigator. And it's so organic, and it flows, and it fluctuates, and it's just, I used to just get terrified by the trends, and oh no, we gotta hire. But after 3 years, I'm like, well, that just happens in October and September. Hang on, and let's not panic. And it's, I'm rambling because I'm just in awe of their abilities and their tenacity and their compassion. And then we created the Let's Talk program, which is a peer recovery specialist program, and it was fashioned after the friendship benches in Zimbabwe, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
which was an evidence-based program that grandmothers created because there were no mental health providers. There was one psychiatrist in the entire province of Zimbabwe. And so these grandmothers are like, we have to do something. There's a crisis. Our people are dying. And so they created these benches where the grandmothers would just go and sit, and people could come and sit down and talk to them. And
wow.
Yeah, so I said, hey, peers are pretty huge right now. Let's make it evidence-based with peer recovery specialists. And then we got, Jonathan Jones, who's just the most amazing, incredible, humble man who has traversed so much adversity and helped so many people. I always have to tell him, hey man, stay humble, because people will stop me. They'll be like, this guy, and I'm like, I do. So, and he's got a story, and he'll share it, and he's just amazing. And we're adding to this team because we need to, because there's such a need. Mm-hmm. And don't get me started on the ones that are answering the phones on the crisis line. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is high stress all day long. And they're doing it, and they're coming back every day, and they're, all I can say is that it's a true team effort, because the board of directors has given us every opportunity to succeed with their leadership. I'm in awe of them, particularly the executive committee, and, have just forged this amazing mutual admiration society with the people that are helping to make sure that the people that are helping other people are okay. And,
I think it's great. And you're not rambling. This is your platform. So, but I do want to bring up a few things that are coming up, because I know, we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
So, September 19th. So for those of those of you, I'm from New York, and my wife is like, why do you always say y'all? And it was a stage thing.
It's inclusive.
Well, it's inclusive, but when I was in New York, singing on stage, I'd be like, oh, y'all are great, and they're like, you're a New Yorker, what are you saying y'all for? And it just kind of carried over, so it always makes me laugh. But I think that September 19th is Mocktail Monday.
That's
and
right.
We'll talk more about that. And then I know there's other events coming up. I'm going to shamelessly, it's not shameful, plug Unmasking Lafayette, which is November 12th, and that is to benefit Sixth Alarm Peer Support, which we were talking about earlier, which is mental health resources for first responders. So let's talk about Mocktail Monday. What is it? I know that people are listening to this nationally, and I appreciate you hanging in here. This is really important for our locality. And for those of you who know me, I'm very community oriented. And that's why I wanted to do the special, because it's really to help the community, help you guys get the word out to the community. And so go for it.
Well, first off, I want to say I love the concept of peer alarm. The reason that peers work so good is because people relate to other people that are like them. Veterans want to talk to other veterans who have the same life experience, and representation matters. So Sixth Alarm is just a phenomenal concept, and we are so happy to support our brothers and sisters who are serving others in that capacity. What we have coming up is called Mocktail Monday, as Iris said. We wanted to provide an alternative to socializing and always having to have alcohol involved. Even at most of our fundraisers and the things that we do, it plays a role. And we wanted to put our money where our mouth is and say, look, you do not have to imbibe in drinking alcoholic beverages to have a good time. And we wanted to support our recovery community. We wanted to have an event that we felt good bringing our peer recovery specialists who are in recovery from addiction to. we also wanted to normalize it, because a lot of times people just don't want to drink alcohol, and they may go to a wedding or to a party and they're directed immediately to the kiddie cooler.
Right.
And then also we just wanted to shine a light on the on Recovery Month and Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and really open up space to talk about it. But most of all, we just want to have a good time.
Well,
And so and we wanted it to be barrier free. And so you're welcome. I picked Monday. We picked Monday. We do almost everything on Monday. Our board meetings are Monday. All the things we do are on Monday. And it's from 5:30 to 7 p.m. It's going to be at the River City Community Center, which is off of Teal Road. And I'm going to give Iris a QR code that maybe
231 South.
Or you can go right to our website and register. It's $35 a ticket. And basically, it's a friendly competition. There's 17 bars and restaurants that are going to be paired with 17 community leaders. And they're going to create a team. They're going to create a mocktail. We're calling it a delectable mocktail. So you'll be the judge of that. And we're going to have a DJ. We're going to have Ski Anderson's going to be pumping out some tunes. We've got an MC named Mark Brandyberry. There was a lot of joking about what would happen if we got married, and that was all on his end.
That's hilarious, and I can totally see him doing that. So yeah.
So he's a magician. He's larger than life. We're gonna there's gonna be very little of me talking, which is excellent. But we're just gonna have a good time. We're gonna dance a little bit. We're gonna taste some mocktails, have some hors d'oeuvres from the Lafayette Country Club. And then we're going to have a big vote. And there's 5 awards that are going to be awarded to the winners of the different categories. We have some awesome sponsors. We've got NCHS, which is North Central Healthcare Systems. We've got Meridian. We've got Sycamore Springs, Valley Oaks, and then we've got a bunch of banks. We've got Centeer, we've got Horizon, PIFQ, IFQ. We've got, I believe it's the Drug-Free Task Force of, that might not be the right words. Christina Leslie's going to kill me. But TCOR is going to be sponsoring, and Arnie's. And so we got a lot of community support. What we don't have a lot of is people registered. So we need people to go on and get registered so that we can make sure that we fill that up, and that this inaugural event becomes something that we can really build upon for some friendly competition. And just a reminder that this stuff is serious. It's hard. Sometimes it feels like we're walking through peanut butter. And, some days it's all we can do to have that little voice of courage in our heads to say, we'll do it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's fun.
Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of marketing advice, free advice. Do a Facebook boost. Get on LinkedIn. Put it on LinkedIn. I'll put it on LinkedIn, but you want to get the word out. So
I always forget about LinkedIn. I'm such a terrible self-promoter.
Well, I'll help you with reminding you to post. So I'll be like, Brandon,
I've made one post on LinkedIn my whole career.
Oh, you need to do something about that. But I'm not going to talk about marketing on here. So, but I mean, you do. You should definitely be active on there, especially so many business leaders. Local business leaders are on there, and they may not know.
I'm terrible.
About this. Terrible. You don't know, but definitely do a Facebook boost, and you want to get the word out there. It's
worse than that, Iris. I do know. It's like cheeseburgers. I know that eating them are bad for me, and I'm not going to lose weight, but I still do it.
You're going to eat it. Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you. But so folks, September 19th from 5:30 to 7, Mocktail Monday at River City Community
Center. Yeah.
On Old 231 across from Payless, behind McDonald's. And then you said there were other events coming up.
Yeah. So there's T-Core, which is on the 17th, right? They have a big recovery thing, and oh, that's also posted on our calendar. So
Okay.
we're posting all these things on our calendar. NAMI, West Central Indiana, is having NAMI walks, which is October 8th, I believe. It's all on our calendar, on
Okay.
our community calendar. And yeah, there's just a ton of events just all the time. Ways to support each other, but also ways to plug into recovery. Because let's not forget, there's a lot of people that are in recovery. There's, there are a lot of people that could be in recovery. When you talk about our labor shortage, let's not forget that there was over 100,000 overdoses of working age men and women in our nation last year.
Wow.
Let's not forget that there's an uptick in suicides, that we've lost a lot of people. We lose more people to alcohol than anything else, and you hardly ever hear anyone talking about that.
Yeah, and I've seen, man, there was a guy who used to do barbecue at our old house, and I watched him share. I mean, he was an alcoholic, we knew that, but I just watched it literally eat him up. And I never saw that. Like, nobody in my life was ever an alcoholic. I didn't, that was maybe
You're lucky.
one of the. No, I am. I had my other crap that messed me up, but alcoholism, like having an alcoholic parent or anything like that wasn't one of them. But man, I mean, the sorry for the background noise, but the work that you guys do, and not even, I mean, the fact that alcoholism doesn't get the attention that it should kind of blows my mind, because yes, that's like one of the biggest addictions, but people, I think it's the most socially accepted addiction, because they'll go out and I know people that used to have
legal
3-4 glasses of wine a night. And I'm like, that's a little excessive. I mean, I may have one glass of wine, a month, maybe two. And, one of the things, getting back to Mocktail Monday, that I really like, we were out with, I forgot where we were, but Heather and I were out with somebody, and we don't really drink a lot. And they were like, oh, it was actually her job. They do like these safety dinners. And they're like, oh, you're not having a drink? And I'm like, I don't need to drink. I mean, in my 20s, I used to party my butt off, right? But it was partying, and it was, I never went to excess. Well, okay, maybe I did a little, but, I was able to stop it at some point. But as an adult, where I'm at now, I may have a glass of wine with dinner if we go out with friends or something like that. But alcohol to me doesn't really, do it. Really, none of it does anymore. And my friend Kim and I in New York laugh, that we're alive. We thank God, because, in our 20s, we were insane. But then again, who wasn't? But it was looked at differently. Now, what we did back then now would not pass. I mean, it just wouldn't pass. And honestly, it shouldn't, because, I think there are a lot of things that used to be acceptable that shouldn't have been. And the fact that now people are putting a spotlight on it and going, hey, that's really not a good idea to drink and drive. It's not a good idea to, do these things.
And we have more options, right? Uber.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Designated driving became a thing.
Yep.
And that's all a result of consequences.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
it's $10,000 now for a DUI.
Yeah.
That makes people think twice.
Yes. Yeah. And I remember, I know locally, and I don't know if they still do it, I probably shouldn't say it, but I'm going to anyway. I know on New Year's Eve, I thought Lafayette Limo did like if you called them, I don't know if they still do it, but if you were out drinking and you called them, they would get you home.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not super. I've only been here like a year, really, that I've lived here. But that sounds pretty cool.
Guys, yeah, I forgot about that.
I hope that they do that. And
Yeah.
I just said do.
You say do. So okay, so what can people do to help you guys? I know that I may get in trouble for this, but I probably won't get in trouble. I know for Unmasking Lafayette for the next 2 years after this event with Sixth Alarm, I want to make Mental Health America, Wabash Valley region our recipient for the next 2 years. So 2023 and 2024. And we can talk about that, but I just want to officially put that out there because I think that, you guys need help. And what you do is it's just so important. And it's not lost on me, the need that you guys fill in the community and in 33 counties. I mean,
Well, that's for the 988. We are so grateful. So thank you for that. We actually serve 11 counties with our other services. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But
still, and I know we're going to be working on some other things, but it really just is about getting the word out and normalizing getting the word out. But also for me, it's listening. It's understanding what people are saying. So when people are talking, I'm listening. I'll never forget. And this was at my last job. So I was serving Cass County, and we are again because of our merger. But I had been asked to come and talk to a group of inmates about mental health. And I really didn't know a lot about addictions at the time. And I just remember just having a conversation with these men and women. And I just remember asking them, because I'm not in a position to just come and talk at people. Like I want to know, I want to hear, because otherwise I'm just doing something to satisfy myself. I'm not doing something meaningful that I'm being asked to, right? And I remember this guy said to me, he's a young guy, really, looked good and healthy. He was obviously in trouble. But he just looked at me and he said, you got to get into the schools. You've got to warn these kids. You've got to let them know that they could take this pill and they don't even know. And it could change their whole life. It could turn them, because there are certain people. And I remember, and I pay a lot of attention to things on social media that are about addictions. Just because, like I said, Jonathan I've got a little bit of hero worship from this guy.
I need to meet Jonathan.
Yeah, you do. And, I'd watched the documentary Dope Sick, and I said, wow, for years I've been talking in these meetings, and I didn't even understand. And so I encourage everybody to watch that movie, Dope Sick, because it really sheds some light. But you could just use one time, and your brain may hit that pleasure pathway, and it might steal your next 10 years, your next 20 years. You might not live through it. You might not achieve recovery. So many of our brothers and sisters literally are not here today because of it. And this kid just looked at me. He was so plaintive about it. And you could just see it in his eyes. Just warn them, tell them that this could happen, that, and we're so quick to judge people who have dabbled, who have been recreational. But one of the things I saw was on social media was, hey, you say I have a moral failing. You say I'm weak because of this addiction. You say I should just quit and I should just pull myself up. But the only difference between you and I You took the same things I took. The only difference is I have an addiction, and it hit me differently, and I couldn't recover. It's my brain. And that's the takeaway for me is it's so easy for people to sit and judge other people when they have not walked a mile in their shoes and they don't know. Nobody wants to be in the throes of addiction.
No. And the fact that it hits people differently, right? I go back to the 80s, 90s, and certain people did certain things and they did it once or twice and they were okay. And other people, the minute they did it, it was over.
Yep.
And I watched, it's amazing how it's almost like a tornado. And this is going to sound crazy, but tornadoes don't follow a certain pattern. They don't hit everything in their path. They kind of almost pick and choose, right? A tornado hit here, I don't know, 8-9 years ago, however long ago it was. It went over somebody that I knew, went over her house, hit somebody else that I know, hit their house, and then it hit like Voestalpine, part of it, and then it kind of bounced off. That's like was a manufacturing place that's no longer here. And then it bounced a couple of places behind, and then it hit like SIA. So it doesn't hit everybody in its path. It kind of picks and chooses, and that scares me. And that should scare the hell out of everybody out there, right? Because, you may think it's a good idea to check this colorful pill out, and you know what? It may be the worst thing that you could do. So,
and some of these pills that they have out here now are killing people just instantly. I sit on an overdose fatality review board with a lot of really amazing people. And when we sit and we go through the timeline of these people, these opportunities, or these setbacks, these traumas, these, where could an intervention have occurred? Why did this pill get prescribed? And so many different things. And you begin to see so many human beings destroyed by drugs and alcohol and just pain and underlying undiagnosed, untreated mental health disorders, if we're just perfectly honest.
Right. Well, and I think that, again, organizations like yours that are out there to help these people are desperately needed. I mean, they're desperately needed because the need, and I imagine COVID had to, it's weird because it caused so much anxiety, but it freaking took COVID for us to say, hey, we can do this remotely. We can help you remotely. If you can't leave your house for whatever reason, we can do this on the computer.
We can come to you.
Huh?
We can come to you.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that it just blows my mind that it took that. That was a business tool, Zoom for business meetings, and all of a sudden, they didn't know what to do with themselves because everybody.
Man, I wish I would have had stock in Zoom.
Girl, I said the same thing to her. It's like, man, why do we know about this? But yeah, I mean, that blew up, and I think, we're talking all doom and gloom, and it is. I mean, it's sad, and it's hard, and it's scary, but there is a silver lining, and the silver lining is that there are organizations like yours, and there are people like you leading them. And I just want to throw this out there, and I know, you're not one to talk about yourself, but you are, I think, just the perfect person to be in the position that you're in for the organization that you're in. You have the empathy, you have the understanding of the issue. or the issues, you have the knowledge, you have the disposition, because not just anybody could do that job. You have this very even keel about you, and I know you're not perfect, and I know that you go off, and I know that you have your moments, but
I haven't gone off in like 10 years.
well, I don't mean, you know what I mean.
I'm just playing.
I'm just oh, okay. I'm just
I
saying.
just the punching bag is my friend, right?
Well, there you go. But at least you have something.
My new friend.
Your new friend.
No,
So
I appreciate your kind words. I quite, we always question, are we where we're supposed to be? And we talked about this in my last podcast. When people aren't well, you can become a proverbial punching bag for other people when you're in leadership.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate what you're saying. And time will tell, right? I feel comfortable in a lot of the things that we talk about because I have done the work, and also because I have also fallen, and I continue to fall, and I continue to get back up, and that's recovery, friends.
Right.
But that's also life, and there are universal truths in life, and there's pain and there's suffering, but there's also healing, and there's love, and there's hope, and there's always hope.
Always.
And so
always hope.
Yeah, you must never give up.
Yeah. And I mean, and I'll just from personal experience, I remember days. We talked about this. I had a hard upbringing, and I had a hard whatever, and man, I just remember waking up and having that day and being like, man, just get to bed and we'll wake up, and it's going to be a new day with new opportunities, with new opportunities, but if you kill yourself, there's no new opportunities. It's done. There's no next day. And I remember, gosh, I just remember thinking that so many times, and getting through it and waking up and looking at where I am today, being very thankful that I had that hope.
I'm thankful too.
And thank you. And but to be able to tell somebody it's going to be okay. You just got to hang in there. I know it sucks. I've been there. I know it sucks. I know that this is probably the worst thing that ever happened, but get through tomorrow. Get through today to get to tomorrow. And it gets better. And you have organizations like MHA, Wabash Valley, and just MHA in general. You know what I mean? The national organization.
Huge shout out to national.
Yeah. I mean, let's just shout out to everybody who's out there doing the work and giving these people hope where they don't see it, and giving a hand up. And I'm going to get teary because I just,
I know you're tearing me up.
I know, but what you
we just say, like, if you know someone that's helping people, go give them a big hug and tell them thank you, because it's largely a thankless job. I mean, we ring the bell up here when we have successes.
Yeah.
The bell is our origin story.
Where'd my bell go?
Our that's our symbol of hope. That bell that National had forged from the shackles that were used to bind people with mental illness for so many years, that's our beacon of hope. And so every time that a peer recovery specialist helps someone, or a client gets a job, or celebrates 30 days, or a navigator connects someone to services, or I talk someone into giving us a big check, I get to do that like a couple times a year. Or our development team, our mission advancement officer, Tia, and all them, we'll ring that bell, and the whole office just erupts in applause, because that is what keeps us going. So, very few people ask how are you doing. So I try to do that as much as possible, and I
Yeah.
do it in the mirror sometimes. I've got
Yeah.
just an awesome coach. So, you know, it takes every single person and all the angels and all of the puppies and all of the rainbows and sunshine and yes, even the rain.
Yes.
But I mean,
Without rain,
really,
there's no rainbows, right? So
that's right. And so there's always hope. And sometimes just being that listening ear and just letting someone talk and just asking being bold enough to ask the question, you
yeah.
know.
And there are some people that have depression that you will say, "Are you okay?" And they will say yes, and don't push it because they're not ready. I mean, I had firsthand, experience with that, where I'd be like, "Come on, I know you need to talk," and it was like, "No, I no." So some people aren't ready to talk, but I think knowing that they can, if they need to, is really important too. So,
And just put that harness of gentleness on
yep,
before you're approaching someone.
the
Use
harness
those.
of gentleness. That is beautiful. See, you're so freaking eloquent. I mean, you are. You just speak very well, and the way you phrase things are just, yeah. Um, I'm impressed and inspired by you
You stop.
often. No, it's it's
I'm
true.
looking for this thing my Jonathan gave me, and
I'm looking for the pin you gave me. I don't know what.
yeah. You better have that pin.
I know. Well, my cleaning lady cleaned today, and
Oh,
she
I can't find it. But it said it took a lot of pain to become this gentle.
here. Oh wow.
I can't find it now. He gave me a bunch of them.
Well, I'm just gonna put this out there so you can see. I still have it
Yes.
right there.
Awesome.
So, and knowing what this bell means, when you told me that story initially, I had goosebumps everywhere. Because who would have, that's just intense. Okay, so Mocktail Monday.
Mocktail Monday.
Because shockingly, we're at an hour and 2 minutes. I know it, it's fine. Everyone who listens to this is used to it, but they're used to a different format. But I really, and thank you guys for hanging in with us, or thank you everyone. I don't want to say guys, but thank you everyone for hanging in with us, because this was so important to me to do, because mental health, if we don't have our mental health, we're shot. We can't function. We can't, move forward. And the fact that we have organizations such as, Mental Health America, Wabash Valley Region, NAMI, NCHS, all of the organizations in town, and the facilities. I mean, the fact that we have this here, and nationally, that the help is out there is paramount, I think, especially nowadays, especially after COVID. I know people are still recovering from the fact that, we can still go out. I mean, I was talking to somebody last week, and they're like, I'm still not used to being in public after really being sequestered for, 3 years. Not sequestered, but, forced to kind of hibernate. So thank you for the work that you do, and the work that everybody in your organization does, from the volunteers to, everybody, the board, the executive committee, everything. And again, Mocktail Monday, September 19th. Go get those tickets. $35 is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. Add 2 more registrations. I should have signed up already, but I'm going to
Well,
be
I don't think people think about it, but I know that the board's starting to sweat it a little bit. They want this to be a success for me, which is so sweet.
Oh, so well, let's do this for MHA Wabash Valley Region, and for Brandy, because she busts her butt every day. And yay me, I didn't say one curse this
I'm so proud of you, Iris.
I was so cognizant. There were a couple of times I was like, wait, no, because then they won't be able to use this. So, I want you to be able to use this. And I think the bleeps in the other one it could be funny. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But
especially if you do like chickens.
I don't know, Kofi, you listening to that? Well, that's another story. I'm gonna squirrel, and I don't want to.
He's awesome.
But thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, my absolute pleasure. And again, Mocktail Monday, September 19th, River City Community Center, 5:30 to 7 for the local people. Any of my listeners that want to donate money to Mental Health America, Wabash Valley region, or even nationally, their website is being scrolled on here. It was there, and now it's taking a while to scroll, but mhawv.org is for our local chapter, and MHA probably.org. Is that right, Brandy?
I think you have to spell out national. It's MHA National.
MHAnational.org.
But
Okay.
if you're viewing from a different area, check out and see if you have a local MHA too.
There you go. Absolutely.
Likely they're doing really awesome work.
Well, yeah. I think you guys are doing.
I mean, it's great for national too, but we need the cookie crumbs.
Yeah. No, local. Look, we want to. It's
shop
all about
local.
Yes, it's all about community. Shop local. So there you go. Okay, so everybody, I want to thank you for hanging in there with us again for this hour plus for this special edition. And I know that we're a new podcast, and I was told yesterday that, it's probably too soon to do this. I don't think it's ever too soon to bring awareness to these social issues. So thank you for hanging in there. And I guess we'll get ready to sign off. Brandy, thank you again.
Thank you.
And everyone, thank you for listening. Iris Goldfeder, the Cookbook, and special edition. And you know what? Still, go out, find what lights your fire. Go help somebody. Go help somebody in your community. Bye, guys.